Okay, so this is something I've been like thinking about. You know how we use the alphabet for, well, everything.
Right.
What about cultures that don't? Like Japan, they've got kanji, kana, beautiful characters.
Yeah.
But what happens when they need to, use our 26 letters for their language?
Yeah.
That's what we're getting into today, the world of Rōmaji. Roman characters, literally.
It's a good one.
And trust me, it's way more interesting than it sounds.
It really is. It's not just about like swapping alphabets. You see, it gets at like how languages interact, what happens when you got these different writing systems. Rōmaji isn't about replacing kanji or kana. It's more about building a bridge between them.
Okay, I like that. So we're talking about using our familiar A, B, C, S to represent Japanese sounds, not replacing their entire writing system.
Right.
But why even bother? When did this whole thing even start?
Well, buckle up, because this bridge has been under construction for a while.
Okay.
The first documented use of Romanized Japanese pops up way back in 1548.
1548. Seriously, that's way earlier than I expected. What was the driving force behind it?
It wasn't about teaching Japanese to Westerners.
Oh,
actually.
okay. Oh, interesting.
It was the other way around. Jesuit missionaries used Rōmaji as a tool to learn Japanese themselves.
Wow.
So they can spread their teachings.
So from the get-go, Rōmaji was about bridging cultures and spreading ideas.
Precisely. And what's fascinating is that this early system was surprisingly aligned with Japanese pronunciation, even more so than some later attempts.
So language evolution in action.
Exactly. And this wasn't just some academic exercise either.
Okay.
The very first book ever printed in Romanized Japanese was The Tale of the Heike.
Wow.
This epic samurai saga. Imagine warriors, political intrigue, all written out with our 26 letters.
That's wild. Thinking about it, ditching an entire writing system for another seems like a huge deal.
Right. And it almost happened.
Really?
Fast forward a few centuries to the Meiji era, late 1800s, early 1900s.
Okay.
Japan is rapidly modernizing, interacting more with the West. And suddenly, this question pops up. Should we just use Romanized Japanese all the time?
Well, wait, seriously? They actually debated ditching kanji and kana entirely. Talk about a linguistic shakeup.
Oh, yeah.
What were they thinking?
Think about it. Japan was in this whirlwind of change, right? Yeah. Trying to find its place in this modern world, but also preserving its identity. Some scholars saw Romanization as like a key to progress.
Okay.
Easier learning, higher literacy rates, smoother communication on a global stage. It was a way to kind of streamline things, almost like swapping out an intricate, handcrafted engine for something more modern.
Makes sense. Kind of like saying, hey, everyone else is using this other system. Maybe we should too.
Yeah.
But I bet there was pushback, right?
Oh, huge. I mean, language is so intertwined with culture.
Exactly.
You hit the nail on the head. There was huge pushback. Imagine the arguments. We're losing our cultural identity. What about the nuances of our literature? And then there's the practical side. Japanese has tons of homophones, words that sound the same but have different meanings. Relying solely on Romanization could lead to misunderstandings galore.
It's like trying to fit this incredibly rich and nuanced language into a system designed for something else entirely.
Yeah.
I can see why that wouldn't go over well.
Exactly. It's a classic example of what's gained and lost when we try to make a language accessible to the world. Ultimately, kanji and kana won out.
Okay.
They were too deeply ingrained in Japanese identity to disappear completely.
Right.
But the fact that this debate even happened, it tells you a lot about the pressures and anxieties of that era.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Romanization was put in its place, but not entirely abandoned, right?
Right.
Which brings us to the different systems.
Yes.
I've definitely encountered a few versions, and I'll be honest, it can be a bit confusing.
Yeah. Don't worry. It's like having different maps for the same city.
Okay.
They each have their strengths and weaknesses depending on what you want to achieve.
Okay.
Let's start with the one you're most likely to encounter. The Hepburn system.
Hepburn, the one that always makes me feel like I'm butchering pronunciation, but at least I can kind of read it.
That's the beauty of Hepburn.
Okay.
Created by James Curtis Hepburn, late 1800s, it's designed for English speakers.
Okay.
Prioritizing a pronunciation that feels natural to us. His Japanese-English dictionary, published in 1887, solidified Hepburn's system as the go-to for learners.
So it's like a pronunciation cheat sheet.
Yes.
Which explains why it's so popular for beginners.
Exactly.
But like any good cheat sheet, I'm guessing it has its downsides.
Exactly.
Okay.
While intuitive, it doesn't always capture the subtleties of Japanese sounds perfectly.
Right.
It's a trade-off. Easier to grasp for English speakers, but at the cost of some accuracy.
Ah, so that explains why sometimes those easy words sound completely different when I hear a native speaker.
Exactly. It's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. You can make it work, but it's not a perfect fit. And this is where the story gets even more interesting.
Oh.
Because Hepburn wasn't the only system vying for attention. Remember that debate in the Meiji era about adopting Romanization entirely?
Right.
Well, right in the thick of it emerged a system called Nihon Shiki.
Okay.
Designed by the Japanese, for the Japanese.
So not about making things easier for us English speakers at all.
Not this time.
Okay.
Nihon Shiki prioritizes consistency with the Japanese syllabary.
Right.
Their system of representing sounds over everything else.
So it's like peeking under the hood.
Yeah.
Seeing the language through Japanese eyes instead of trying to force it into an English mold.
Precisely.
Okay.
Now imagine you have this beautifully crafted, intricate system, and someone wants to create a slightly simplified version.
Okay.
That's Kunrei Shiki.
Kunrei Shiki.
Same goal of mirroring the Japanese syllabary.
Okay.
But with a few tweaks for efficiency.
Okay, I'm all about efficiency.
Okay.
Give me an example. How is it different?
Let's take the sounds represented by the kana and arik.
Okay.
In modern Japanese, they both sound like zu.
Okay.
Kunrei Shiki keeps it simple, romanizing both as zu.
Okay.
Hepburn does the same, actually.
Okay.
But Nihon Shiki sticks to the distinct kana,
Okay.
romanizing ori as do and ari as zu.
So Kunrei Shiki is kind of like acknowledging how people actually speak today.
Exactly.
While Nihon Shiki stays true to the traditional written forms.
Yes.
Fascinating how these systems reflect different linguistic priorities.
It is.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really practical.
Okay.
Kunrei Shiki is officially endorsed by the Japanese government.
Oh, wow.
And recognized internationally.
Okay.
You'll see it on documents, street signs,
Wow.
even taught in schools.
Really?
So even if we learn Hepburn first,
Right.
Kunrei Shiki is kind of woven into the fabric of Japanese life.
That's wild. It's like this hidden layer of complexity that most of us never even realize is there.
It speaks to how deeply Rōmaji is integrated into Japanese society. But it's not just these big systems.
Right.
Remember those times you've seen Romanized Japanese and thought, what rule book are they using?
Oh, absolutely. Like on some product packaging or trendy clothing brands.
Exactly.
Sometimes it feels like anything goes.
Exactly. Welcome to the world of non-standard Rōmaji.
Okay.
Where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's simplification, sometimes accidental mixing of systems, and sometimes it's totally intentional, like a design choice.
Oh, interesting.
A way to make it look cool or edgy.
So like how we might bend grammar rules in a text message to sound more casual or playful?
Precisely.
Okay.
But while it might be stylish, it does create challenges for things like indexing or searching for information.
Right.
If everyone's romanizing differently, consistency goes out the window.
It's like trying to file documents when everyone has their own unique system.
Exactly.
Speaking of things that trip me up,
there's
one thing that always gets me. Long vowels.
Ah, yes, the complexities of long vowels.
Yes.
Even within a system like Hepburn, there's variation.
Okay.
Take the word Osaka. You usually see it as Saka, right?
Right.
With that little line, a macron,
Right.
to indicate the long O sound.
Right, right.
But you might also see it written as Osaka.
Okay.
Or even Usaka.
Wait, seriously. So 3 different ways to write the same word?
Welcome to the wonderful world of Rōmaji.
All considered acceptable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even in something as seemingly simple as long vowels, there's flexibility.
Wow.
And here's the kicker. The Japanese Foreign Ministry allows 3 different ways to represent long vowels on passports.
No way. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like choosing your own adventure for how your name is romanized.
It really highlights that Rōmaji, while rooted in representing sound, isn't always about strict rules.
Right.
It can be adaptable, even aesthetically driven.
Okay, this is blowing my mind. We've got these standardized systems, but then we've got all this variation and flexibility in how they're actually used.
Sure.
It's like Rōmaji itself is a living, breathing language, constantly adapting and evolving.
What a fantastic way to put it.
Right.
And that adaptability is what makes this topic so fascinating to explore. But it doesn't stop there.
Oh.
We haven't even touched on those specialized systems designed for very specific purposes.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my curiosity.
Okay.
We've got Hepburn, Nihon Shiki, Kunrei Shiki. What other linguistic rabbit holes are we about to dive into?
Well, imagine a system so detailed,
Okay.
so focused on precise pronunciation.
Mm-hmm.
It even uses symbols to indicate things like pitch, accent,
Okay.
that's JSL, a linguist's dream.
Hold on. Pitch accent.
Right.
Like how some syllables are higher or lower depending on the word and the context.
You got it.
Wow.
It's like the difference between record the noun
Right.
and record the verb in English.
Right, yeah.
Same spelling, different emphasis.
Right.
JSL wants to capture every nuance of that.
Okay.
It's not about ease of use, it's about phonetic accuracy.
Okay.
A tool for really, really dissecting the sounds of Japanese.
That's incredible. I can see why linguists would love it,
Yeah.
but this sounds pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Like something you'd only encounter in a university setting,
Right.
not out in the real world.
You're right. It's a niche system.
Okay.
More common in academic circles
Right.
or specific linguistic contexts
Right.
than in everyday life.
Right.
But its existence speaks to the fact that
Yeah.
there's always more than one way to represent language.
Okay.
And the best system really depends on your goal.
So we've got this whole spectrum from user-friendly Hepburn for beginners to the hyper-detailed JSL for the pros.
Yes,
And somewhere in between, we've got the officially sanctioned Kunrei Shiki holding it all together.
exactly.
What a wild ride. But all this talk about systems,
Yeah.
where does Rōmaji actually pop up in our lives?
You're right to bring it back to real-world application.
Right.
Think about it. Even if you'd never heard the word Rōmaji before today,
Yeah.
I bet you've encountered it.
Okay.
Remember those Japanese snacks you tried?
The ones with the Romanized ingredients list that I definitely did not understand.
Exactly. Or those cool Japanese streetwear brands with the Rōmaji logos.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Product packaging, those subway maps you navigated on your trip to Japan.
Right.
Even the subtitles for your favorite anime probably use some form of Rōmaji.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's like it seamlessly blends into the background,
Yeah.
making this whole other world of language accessible to us.
Right.
I've even seen it used in like museum exhibits or art installations
Sure.
to make Japanese text, approachable for a wider audience.
Of course.
And we can't forget technology.
Right.
Remember those input methods that let you type in Japanese on your phone or computer?
Oh, yeah.
You mean those things that magically transform my jumbled attempts at spelling into beautiful Japanese characters?
Precisely.
Right?
Rōmaji is the unsung hero behind it all,
Wow.
acting as this bridge between our familiar alphabet
Right.
and the complexities of Japanese script.
It's working behind the scenes.
All the time,
Yeah.
making our digital lives a whole lot easier.
Mind blown. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered the history, the systems, the wild world of non-standard romanizations.
Right.
Anything else we need to know about Rōmaji?
There's one more intriguing quirk we haven't discussed.
Okay.
It involves something that might seem counterintuitive at first.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. Hit me with it. Okay, you've got me on the edge of my seat here.
Okay.
What's this counterintuitive quirk about Rōmaji?
Have you ever noticed that, like, Japanese text doesn't use spaces between words?
Yeah, now that you mention it, it's all just kind of flowing together.
Exactly, and that creates a fascinating challenge when it comes to romanization. How do you represent a language that doesn't traditionally separate words with spaces
Right.
using a system that does?
Ooh, that is a brain teaser. So when you're romanizing Japanese, how do you decide where one word ends and another begins?
It's trickier than you might think. There are conventions,
Okay.
but it can get nuanced, especially with compound words.
Okay.
Those linguistic mashups where two words become one.
Like heartbeat or sunflower in English.
Precisely.
Okay.
Japanese is full of them.
Right.
Take the phrase to get married.
Okay.
It's made up of kekkon, marriage,
Mhm.
and suru, to do.
So they just smash marriage and to do together to mean to get married.
Right.
Talk about efficiency.
But when it comes to Rōmaji,
Yeah.
you might see it written as one word, kekkon suru,
Okay.
or two words, kekkon suru.
Wait, so both are considered correct?
It highlights the ambiguity that can pop up
Okay.
when you're trying to impose the conventions of one writing system onto another.
Wow.
There's not always a single right answer,
Right.
and different publishers might have their own kind of style preferences.
It's like those never-ending debates about the Oxford comma in English.
Yeah.
Is it necessary or is it overkill?
The takeaway here is that context is key.
Okay.
When you encounter Romanized Japanese, be prepared for some stylistic variations.
So flexibility is the name of the game. This whole deep dive has been such an eye-opener.
It really is fascinating.
Well, it's made me realize that language is so much more than just like rules and dictionaries. It's this constantly evolving thing
Yeah.
shaped by culture, by history, and even aesthetics.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So,
Rōmaji, with all its systems, its quirks, even those inconsistencies, it embodies that dynamism. It's a bridge between cultures, a tool for access, and a testament to how we adapt language to meet our needs.
beautifully put. Well, there you have it. A deep dive into the fascinating world of Rōmaji. We hope this journey has left you with a new appreciation for the art of Romanizing Japanese and the intricate ways languages connect and evolve.